Boxing truth here. You know, some people are gonna get mad at this video. I really don't give a shit. I'm just gonna feel how I feel. I'm gonna say how I feel. I'm gonna be objective about this fight between George Groves and Chris Eubank Jr. But a lot of boxing fans on Twitter, boxing writers, they should just stick to watching fights, enjoy the fights, and not even try to be judges, because they're not. Try to give strong opinions, because most of the times I don't agree with them. I'd rather be in a minority when it comes to who people think won fights or who thought the fight was competitive or not. I like to be in a minority of the opinion, because to me it tells me that I'm one of the few woke people when it comes to scoring and being objective about fights. Dan Rafael of ESPN continues to turn in trash scorecards. Steve Kim really hates fighters with flashy pad work, so his bias comes out when it comes to that. A lot of people are saying Dylan Alexander dominated and schooled Victor Ortiz, which he didn't. And all three judges agreed with each other that it was a close fight, and not one judge gave it to Dylan Alexander. I saw a close fight as well. Yeah, Ortiz got marked up, but it was a very competitive fight that you can argue it was a draw, and maybe he actually nicked out. So I like to be a minority of opinions. And let's talk about this George Groves, Chris Eubank Jr. fight, and how the George Groves Twitter fangirls are saying that he dominated Chris Eubank Jr. He outclassed him, schooled him, boxed his socks off. I mean, I just don't know where these opinions are coming from. I watched the fight on a silent stream. I didn't listen to the commentating, didn't have no influence, had no people's opinions screaming at the screen, at the TV screen. I watched it with my own eyes and had my own influence, had my own opinion about the fight. Had no influences of the commentating, and it was a sloppy, ugly fight. The styles didn't mesh well, and at the end of the 12 rounds, I didn't know who won the fight. So of course I had to watch it again, and I just don't understand how people think George Groves dominated that fight. He was not a master boxer. He wasn't very effective offensively. He did more feinting than punching, did more moving than punching, did more holding than punching, a lot of headbutting, a lot of rabbit punches, a little dirty in there. Eubank headbutted Groves a couple of times in the fight, but that's because he was trying to come inside, and George Groves would do a lot of holding for dear life, especially in the later rounds, as he practically stopped punching the last 2 rounds, which had to do with the banged up shoulder, dislocated shoulder. But in all honesty, this was a very close fight, competitive fight, that you can argue Chris Eubank Jr. won, or at least deserved a draw, because that's what I saw in the 2 times that I watched it. I didn't know who won it the first time, and the second time I saw Chris Eubank Jr. edging the fight, because to me he was the one that landed the cleaner punches throughout the fight. He finished the fight stronger down the stretch, and this is what happened for why I feel a lot of people think Groves dominated Chris Eubank Jr. and he didn't. It's because Jr. didn't look as good in previous fights. Groves, the only effective thing he really did in that fight was take away Junior's combination punching, and I expected that. I know Groves, his style, he's an in and out distance fighter. He stays in and out of punching range, and he implied a lot of movement, which took away Eubank's combination punching. I expected that to happen. I expected Eubank to look sloppy because he was gonna have to, close the distance and come forward and try to nullify and land punches with Groves' movement. So him looking bad and looking sloppy influenced the viewers. I heard the commentating was very biased towards George Groves, which could have, of course, influenced the viewers. And also the blood definitely influenced the viewers. It gave an impression that, Eubank was getting beat up in there, but he wasn't. It was a headbutt that caused the gash over Eubank's right eye, which affected him in the fight. But he fought his heart out, man. He fought with that cut for about a number of rounds. And Groves, he just wasn't really that effective. Not many clean punches. He did have a big moment in round 2. He hurt Eubank with a right hand, but Eubank recovered quickly, and he was starting to come on in the 4th round. Was starting to gain momentum in the middle rounds. But there were some hard rounds to score. It wasn't an easy fight to score. The 1st round was practically a swing round. Nothing really happened. The 6th round was another round that not much really happened until Eubank had a little late flurry in the end of the round. 7th round was close. The 8th round was close. I gave it to Groves. The 3rd round was close. I gave it to Groves. So I just don't get how people think Groves dominated this fight when he was very inactive in a lot of the rounds, didn't throw many punches, didn't land many clean punches after the 2nd round, and Eubank finished the fight stronger, arguably won the last 2 rounds, and had Groves in trouble in the last round, and the referee was actually keeping a close eye. It would look like he was very close to stepping in and stopping the fight, which would have been a premature stoppage. But that's why the bell sounded 5 seconds earlier than it was supposed to. In my opinion, George Groves got an A-side decision, A-side cooking. He was the A-side, the guy with the promoter that's promoting the tournament. And you can tell by the body language that Eubank genuinely thought he won the fight. He felt he won the fight. He felt he did enough in the middle and later rounds, and he closed the fight stronger. But it was not a very good fight. Very sloppy. Of course, Groves was able to show the weaknesses of Junior. Junior was swinging wild, but he was actually effective with those lead left hooks that he was landing constantly throughout the fight. And Groves just wasn't very effective offensively. A lot of movement, a lot of feinting, but not enough punching, especially in those later part of the rounds. But this is what I don't get. I mean, there's a lot of people just don't like Junior. People are just fast to discredit him, saying he can't box for shit. Yeah, he definitely has flaws. He definitely needs to work on some things. But the guy was arguably won the fight. Arguably deserved the draw. And it's crazy how people are so easy to discredit. James DeGale, man, go sit down somewhere, dog. You lost to a cherry-picked bomb. Eubank lost 2 close fights, competitive fights, against 2 world-class fighters, both of them now world champions. He lost the Billy Joe Saunders fight more clearly, and he arguably beat George Groves in this fight. But you can definitely make a case for a draw. The 115-113 card was the most accurate, but there were some hard rounds to score. You could have gave the first round to either guy. There was a couple of other rounds that were hard to score, but Junior showed heart. Groves, to me, showed that he's not better. He didn't improve. He's pretty much the same fighter. Actually, I think he's actually worse. The Groves that fought Carl Froch the first time, you're never going to see that guy again. That guy was the best version of him. But he's gone. He's been gone for a number of years. And in this fight, he got so much credit for moving and holding and ineffective outboxing, and it's just laughable that there's some fangirls out there on Twitter that think he actually dominated this fight. You want to say Groves won 7-5? Fine. But dominated? That's a major stretch. And you're an undercover George Groves fanboy, or you just picked Groves and wanted to be right so bad that you just want to discredit Junior and try to be a sore winner. It is what it is. I don't take this, shit that seriously. If I get a pick wrong, I'll admit it. But this one, I don't feel I got wrong. You can make an argument maybe Groves edged it, but dominated? Come on, man. Be real. Junior has nothing to be ashamed about. He still needs to work on some things, but he does have potential. He needs to learn how to close the distance better. He needs to learn how to deal with the guys that employ distance and movement. But in this fight, he did a better job compared to the Saunders fight. Yeah, he was wild. Yeah, he looked sloppy at times. But it was the blood that influenced the viewers and the commentating, I believe, into thinking that Groves dominated this fight. Groves may have won the battle, but he pretty much lost the war. Was KO'd out of the tournament for a dislocated shoulder he suffered in the fight. Who knows what's going to happen with the final. For Eubank, he should definitely move back down to middleweight. Groves looked so much bigger than him in that fight, but it was still Junior that finished the fight stronger than Groves did, despite the big weight advantage you had going in that ring Saturday night. I've seen better fights, so this one's in the books. Eubanks can hold his head high. He fought his heart out, was gracious in defeat, and yet people are just so fast to discredit him. He proved that he can compete at this level. George Groves went life and death with a middleweight and arguably lost to him. And now he's pretty much KO'd out of the tournament, unless they're going to wait for his shoulder to heal to have the final against the winner of Bramer and Callum Smith. But I'm still a Eubank fan. He should definitely get a second pair of eyes in his corner, work on some fundamentals. But he shouldn't be too down on this performance, on this result. He fought well, just a little sloppy, a little too wild. But Groves has got way too much credit for just moving, feinting, holding, not enough clean punching, not even enough punching. It was a very close fight. Why can't you guys just be objective if you think Groves won the fight? This is Boxing Truth. I'm out.